I went down this rabbit hole and it was really accidental a while back, and the clip became like hours long. And it takes a long time to go try to minimize it down to even like an hour. But there was just so much information on this that it gave a much larger perspective of like how many people have been abused and the normalization of this conduct where they could just write a story in LA Times and it's totally alarming. And then nobody sees the problem in it. It was this thing. So it was the Big Brothers and Sisters organization, which maybe it was similar to the Girls and Boys Club, but I was trying to make sure that I didn't donate to this organization. I donated one of my cars to the other organization, which thankfully it wasn't this one, but they may both have the same issues. But you wouldn't know it unless you read the story. Like you have to read the story, and then as you're reading the story, it's like horrifying and like nobody gets it. And the way that they even did vetting wouldn't tell you that these guys are this way. It's just they were trying to go, are you gay? Like that would not tell you if somebody is a straight up socio that would like prey on a kid. It just wouldn't. They may be, but that's just that alone would not tell you that somebody's going to do that. So, these psychological tests, I couldn't even imagine. It's probably like, do you believe in a God? Do you believe in Jesus? If you believe in Jesus, like you're hired, dude. It's the craziest thing. But I had to go back to the origin of this organization because I was trying to make sure it wasn't something that was purposely created for the purpose of harming little boys. The initial story, I believe, was from a Jewish businessman or something, and it threw me off because I knew this was a Christian thing, but the origin is from some Jewish guy, I think. This is, I think. I'm not even going to pull it up because otherwise we'll end up in this longer thing. But basically, he ran across some family that was experiencing poverty and the dad was absent or something and they were helping the mom, and I think they put the boys to work or something and he spent a lot of time with the boys. Yeah, but it may be like a legitimate thing where somebody thinks that they're helping someone and they're just very naive in its execution of this, because I think it's a different thing when you're helping a family on your own versus turning it into a network. And so I had to sit with it and I was like, well, I don't know. We just don't know. We don't know what happened to the boys on the original story, okay? It could have legitimately been, I'm helping someone. I think it was a great thing. And so we're going to turn this into a total thing here. But anyway, Christians took up on these branches, and I don't know, at some point when they get a hold of something, they turn it into a child human trafficking ring. Basically, is what it kind of turned up into. It's crazy. So as we go through this, it was kind of like, okay, this is 1986. And you know me, I love going back into research and going into the 80s here because it's always horrifying. And it was pretty horrifying even growing up in. But this is Generation X's time where when we're kids, we're being fed that, mentorship is a great thing and boys should be around with random adult strangers. So for us, we don't even flinch at it. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah. And I remember bringing this up even, I think it was around 2010 or something on Twitter, like, mentorship. I don't know. It's so ignorant, like the whole thing about it, because I didn't sit down with the story, right? If you don't sit down with like what actually happened, then it's really easy to go, oh yeah, leaving boys alone with some adult men, you know, no father figure. Because even in the story, they say they're not even acting as a father figure. And so I'm sitting here going, then basically you took kids away from hanging out with their peers and to hang out with a random stranger. And how are you doing this? Holy smokes. Now, if you're new here or you don't know anything about Orange County is the Bible Belt of California. It's probably a little similar to some areas up north. It's rather frightening in some areas. Rather frightening. And so I dealt with a lot of the Christian people, people in Orange County. Were they all bad? I wouldn't say they were all bad, but they all had some really off kilter thoughts about things. Some worse than others. Okay. Kane, Kathy, Michael Evans are members of one of the nation's most prominent youthful minority groups. They, along with an estimated 13 million other adult American children, a million of them in California, live in homes with only one parent. Because this is so horrifying. We must fix this, okay? All right. And in most of those homes, the parent is the mother. Yeah, that's so terrible, right? Actually, these issues that we're going to run across here really don't have anything to do with the fact that they have one single parent. It has to do with the combination of environmental factors and child abuse or neglect and some other additions. So having a single mom home wouldn't be the cause of somebody just becoming a criminal or something. But if the mother is abusive in some way, then yeah. So I think more often than not, they're going to experience abuse from a mom, because if a dad figure's not around, then, you know. But in a lot of other cases, father is the abuser, and then, there's just other things in this. Okay. With such senses, the statistics don't show the void left by the absent parent. No, that's not just I was like, I want a void. When I was a kid, I was like, I want a void. Can they leave? Can they be gone forever? No, I think that's more to do with the public's making you think that there's something wrong if somebody is not there. That's one portion of it. But the other portion could be because mom has to work, because she has to pay for her kids. So then she may be also absent in some ways too. There's just a lot. Okay. This is 1986. Okay. The lack of male influence on a boy. Like what is the thing here? So, what do we need to influence them by? Like, what is it? They need to talk about boy stuff. Well, unfortunately, education in school was really bad back then, and learning from random strangers is really not the key. This thing, the lack of the extra bit of friendship for a girl, the lack of an example of a harmonious marriage. Okay. I don't see how hanging out with this strange man is going to show you a harmonious marriage. This is so strange. Like, when I was reading this, like I said, it ended up being really long. You're going to see why it's really long. I have to keep making comments because it's just like, what? But how do you get from that to this other thing, right? For these 3 Orange County children, however, a part of the emotional support that disappeared when their fathers died or moved elsewhere is being provided by volunteer men and women who have been matched with them through Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the OC. Okay. Perhaps the organization's most traditional matchings, which is basically a date match, okay? It's pretty crazy. Traditional matchings involve men who were paired with boys without a father living at home. And since 1981, however, pairings also have been made between women and girls through the Big Sister program, and since 1980, between children of both sexes or unmarried couples as part of the program called Couples for Kids. I would hate my parents for this, but for Bill, his match with Kane, 15 years old, a Costa Mesa high school student, is what might be called a second-generation pairing. 25 Okay, the guy 25, a full-time caseworker for Big Brother and sister of OC who is studying for a license in marriage and family counseling. Okay, this 25-year-old's going to be doing family counseling. Marriage and okay. Was himself a little brother at age 10. Do we know what happened to him at age 10? No, we don't. But anyway, my big brother is now my attorney. I was reading this and I was thinking, oh, yeah, he got smart enough to become an attorney. So when the kid comes after him, he could protect himself. And he was at my wedding. And it was partly because of him I decided to become a big bro myself. And I remember all the positive things that happened to me, and I wanted to do them for someone else. Okay. Being accepted as a big bro involved a screening process that included an orientation, an application, 3 character references. And as we know, if you ask people somebody's a rapist or whatever, they're going to always say no, even if they know they are. They're always going to say no. They're always going to vouch for their buddies. And all 3 of those characters may also be predators. But anyways, 3 psychological tests. And I was like, oh God, I would love to see this test today. What is this? 2 interviews and fingerprinting, all of which was reviewed by a screening committee. So they think that all this stuff right there was going to catch anybody going after some kids. I don't know why they think this, but I don't know. When the screening is complete, the information gleaned in the testing is made available to parents of the child, says Joe, the executive director of Big Bros and Sisters of the OC. The parent may then agree to match or veto it. Controversy has arisen in recent years over the application of the screening process. In 82, Big Brothers and Sisters of the OC settled for an undisclosed amount of money out of court with the family of a boy who was sexually molested by his assigned big bro 5 years before. And in 1984, another OC big brother was convicted of molesting his little brother. He later received a suspended sentence. In both cases, the big bro and sister of OC defended the screening process, calling the incidents a rare errors. Rare errors, guys. More recently, a suit was filed against Big Bro of Greater LA last December by the American Civil Liberties Union on behalf of a bisexual man who claimed he had been systematically excluded for consideration as a Big Bro because of his sexual preferences. While the Big Brother organization lists a national policy of non-discrimination, individual agencies have the right to set up their own policies. The policies of the LA agency bars homosexuals and bisexuals. But that's not the sign that somebody's going to go harm a kid. That was the interesting thing when I was reading through it. I was like, oh, yeah. So you missed the ones where they say heterosexual, white, Christian male. And then those are the ones in the closet that hate women and everything. And then we'll go to all that stuff. But anyway, in Orange County, however, the national policy is followed. She said, I know of 2 homosexual men who came through the program here, and the one wasn't placed because he didn't pass part of the screening. The other man passed, she said, but was rejected by the boy's parent. As with all big brothers, he was asked to commit to 1 year with his little bro and spend an average of 4 to 6 hours a week with him. Basically, they want him to spend an hour a day with this boy. As with all big brothers, he was asked to commit to 1 year with his little brother. Yeah, okay. Anyone who's at least 20 years old, who lives in the OC for at least 6 months, has worked at least 3 months or his or her current job, and has a valid auto insurance, is eligible to become a big brother and big sister. I had to laugh at the auto insurance thing because for some reason at that time it wasn't a law yet. Like, it wasn't like mandatory that you had to get auto insurance at that time. And I was still in school at this point, but when I went to Orange County later. So I thought it was the biggest waste of money because I never got into an accident, other than people hitting me, and I would just sue them. So I was like, well, why don't you sue them? You know what I mean? And somebody called me un-American. And this is before, and so then they wanted to make it a mandatory thing. And I was like, I don't think they should make that a mandatory thing. Just because you guys drive like shit. I don't. So then now I have to suffer for everybody's bad driving, right? Knock on wood, it could happen. I can bump into somebody maybe later in life. But it hasn't happened, okay? So I was called an American. So it's interesting that they put it in here because they equated that to being American. Don't ask me why. Do not ask. This is the lamest thing ever, but that is absolutely part of that. Tests are also given to the children to determine their needs and interests. So they're testing all these kids. And based on the compatibility of those interests, as well as geography, the matches are made. Now, it's a dating match, right? It's like, joining up on Tinder. We're going to see your compatibility with this adult male, right? I just want to focus in on it because this is where they're like, we have no clue, like, why this is happening. It helps if you don't live too far away from each other. The perp can come much quicker to your house. McBrayer, who was 3 when his father died, had just turned 10 when his mother asked if he would be interested in the program. At first, I was a little nervous, but my nerves went away when Bill started coming over. It was great to do things with him. If I didn't have him, I never would have gone to some of the places he took me to. Where did he take you to? Like, we don't even know, right? You just read that and you're kind of like, oh, he went to Diddy's party. Okay. He helped me feel more positive about myself. He said the relationship is less like a father and son than two friends. And this paragraph right here was like, oh no. So this is actually a flag, and nobody caught it, I guess, back then. I try to make him feel like we're equals, but you're not equals. You're an adult and this is a child, right? You're an adult, this is a child. You're an adult, this is a child. And it goes, I may be older, but we're really peers. No, we're buddies. Over the last 6 years, he's become a best friend. The older guy is saying that the kid now is his best friend. See, that's kind of a problem area right here. And so this is the flag. But of course, when they were doing all their things, like, we're just going to ignore that. We're grooming little boys with older adult men, but okay. The time the two spend together often involves nothing more elaborate than washing or waxing a car. In fact, it was such common activities that made his relationship with his own big brother memorable. What, some child labor and you're having the young boy like wax your car? Did you tell him wear some hot shorts? Like, what is this? Why is it, right? Like, what is this about? Shouldn't he be with his peers, right? His peers and having fun with his friends, not waxing an adult man's car, right? Isn't this a little crazy? Okay, my big brother taught me how to wax a car. Like, this is nothing to brag about. It's a little weird. Okay, that taught me how to take pride in things. So today I really take a lot of pride in my own car. Taught lots of things. Mick Brayer said, I think it's neat of him. God, nobody even talks like, I didn't even talk like this in 86, you guys. It's neat. Okay, but yeah. I think it's neat of him to take the time to show me things like how to fix my bike, how to put on a tire, how to put things together. He taught me lots of things like that. Yeah, so I'm sure he sent back, he's like, kid, put a new tire on my bike, wax my car. You want to learn to do some dishes? You want to clean the house? You want to do some gardening? You want to take a lawnmower to my yard? You want to do my laundry, kid? While the official age span for little brothers and sisters is 6 to 16, many relationships continue past that time. Yeah, 17-year-olds, they think they're too old, right? Okay. I'm not going to quit seeing Kane just because he turned 16. I want to be at his wedding someday, just like Kane was at mine. Okay, so who is compiling a trivia book based on the cartoon cat Garfield? said, McBrayer has given him many of the 35 stuffed Garfields that fill his home, and he remembers a birthday card. So, doesn't that sound like grooming to the max? I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's overkill. It isn't, oh, I'm hanging out with this kid, here's a toy. Anyways, so this is what happened after the grooming. Watch. That card was something that really struck me. He signed it, Love Kane. Then later he said, is it okay to say that if we're both boys? I told him, sure. That's the kind of thing that makes it worthwhile to me. He's a really good kid, and I like to think that I had something to do with that. Wink, wink. Oh, yeah. This right there, this whole thing right there, I was like, oh. What was the purpose of this? It's crazy. So we go down. There's 124 on waiting list. 124 victims are waiting to be abused by some adult man. Other Orange County children and potential big brothers and sisters have not been as fortunate. No, he does not sound fortunate, really. The reason is a supply and demand. Currently, there's 124 boys waiting to be matched with big brothers. However, there are more women waiting to be big sisters than there are girls who want one. Yeah, we didn't want one. I'm like, we want one. Who the hell want this? Okay, so they said Big Sister program has not received the wide recognition the Big Brother program has enjoyed. Oh my God. He added, while women tend to be more interested in volunteering than men, a lot of mothers feel threatened by the idea of another woman having an influence on their daughters. Yeah, because they're going to turn them into a Madonna. But probably just in general, it's like, we weren't supposed to hang out with strangers. That was another thing. But boys, you're supposed to jump them off with a stranger, right? One big little sister relationship that has succeeded is the one between Sharon, 23, a counselor at Orangewood Child's Home in Orange, and a 10-year-old Kathy of Placentia. Galego's father died when she was 4. So why is she being matched up with another woman then? If her father died, then wouldn't you wouldn't want to you just wouldn't want to match her up with a man, but that's who's missing in her life, right? A father. And her older brother and 2 older sisters are also matched with a big brother and sister. This is just stupid, right? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. In many cases, and that wasn't the original idea. I think the original idea was, yeah, so if the father's missing for the son. So why would you, okay, so if the father's missing and you have a daughter, why would you match her up with another woman so you have 2 moms? Okay, I don't know. It's just stupid. Anyway, in many cases, said Barnett, a mother seeking out big sister for her daughter because of a job or other family responsibilities that keep her from spending enough time with their child. So we're going to jump them off with strangers. However, she said, in this case, it's something extra that's there for Kathy. Her mother and I are really close. And we get along really well. So there's no strange. Oh, a strain. Wink, wink. It's really easy. Like, I'm just a friend of the family. Oh, God. This whole thing is just like, what the hell's going on? Acting as a big sister, Barnett found, doesn't mean becoming a pervasive influence on a girl. A slow process, a slow grooming process. I guess my first impression was that I was going to be there for a kid who's never seen the world, but she hasn't needed that kind of support. You can't say, wow, I'm going to change this child's life completely. No, it's a slow process to find the areas of need. But it's that one extra phone call or extra hug or extra smile that makes it all worthwhile. Jim and Marion would agree. With 4 natural children and 3 foster sons who are mentally R-word, and the Orange couple, after 30 years of marriage, applied to the Couples for Kids program and were matched with the then 10-year-old Michael, who is now 15, lives with his divorced mother, said he had found a second family with the Lowrys. Okay, my friend got into the program and I saw all things they were doing, and I asked to get into it too. It's like a dream. Jim's like a father to me, and Marion's kind of like my grandmother. They've shown me a lot of things and taught me stuff like politeness. I've done a lot of things I never would have done without them. We've had some rough spots. I love this. When I was reading it, it was like you almost read like the problem, like as they're going, they taught me polite. All I could think of when they said grandmother and this politeness thing and the abuse that they did. You need to be a good boy and keep your elbows off the table or we're going to beat the crap out of you. I've done a lot of things that I never would have done without them. We had some rough spots. Yeah, for a kid to say that is like, we had some rough spots, but we've had some pretty happy times too. That doesn't sound good. Does it sound good to you guys? It's like the kids kind of crying for help right there. I get a lot of love from them. Yeah. He was taught politeness, so he's trying to be polite, but saying, ugh. For their part, the Lowrys said Michael has become like a seventh child or a grandson to them. We've been together 5 years now. We were one of the first couples in the program, and we had our own kids out from underfoot, and we always had kids around, so we decided to apply. Couples offer model. The Couples of the Kid program is designed for children whose own parents may have a stormy relationship or have gone through a particularly traumatic divorce. Couples are screened in the same way as big bros and sis, but emphasis is placed on their ability to present a model of a happy marriage to a child. Because a child should really be seeing this, and giving a shit. Even the whole thing is just like, okay, there are fewer than a dozen couples active in the program. Jim and I are both children of divorced parents. So we wanted to show Michael a family environment and a successful marriage, or at least one that stays together. Yeah, so as you guys are abusing each other, the kid will say, see, yeah, if it's so bad, just put up with it. Yeah, that's really good to teach a kid. Okay, resolve that there wouldn't be a broken home for our kids. Michael sees us fight. He sees friction. Okay, this is terrible. I was like, this is terrible. That's what the kids shouldn't be seeing. Okay. Michael sees us fight. He sees friction. And we beat each other up in front of the kid. But we hope we've made a friend will stay with him. I don't know what the hell. These people are nuts. The couple's influence has shown, Marion said, the positive effects on him, particularly in scholastic improvement. He has the influence of our own kids to look at, and he can see the importance we put on education. Only education, kid, education, education, education. Above all, she said, a couple involved in the Couple for Kids program must not flag in their commitment to the child. You have to do it as a couple. You have to make your commitment and keep it. I have no patience with people who take a rejected child and reject him again. Rosie. Wait, we've had a lot of joy with Michael. You can't do everything for everybody, but if you put your energy into one thing, you can make a difference. Okay, so that was that story. So it went from scary to effed up where lawsuits happen to what the hell. Okay, and then in 1987, the following year, you gotta love this. It was like, this is why it was so long. I'm gonna try. I don't know if I'm not gonna. I don't know. Let me read all that. I don't know. They did a pretty in-depth thing on this, but it was totally frightening. I was like, it leads us into the true head count of everybody sexually abused by adults and how abusive they were, and how like Everything's like literally in your face, but we're the uneducated ones, right? The public, like the general population of just like creating the monster and then setting the monster up with children. It's this thing. And then they don't see the problem with the relationship that the kids are having with these adults, and it's frightening. And then, yeah, the following year, Big Brothers try harder to screen out molesters. A 12-year-old boy sat in San Fernando courtroom a month ago as his big brother, an accountant who volunteered to be his special friend, pleaded guilty to molesting him and 4 other boys. Yeah, this is why the story went to hell, man, because I was like, yeah, this is the Diddy thing. It's the Diddy thing for the Justin Bieber story and the Michael Jackson story. It's like all together because this was highly promoted, and that some random adult man should hang out with some strange kid. You know what I mean? Just drop your kid off. I was like, they wouldn't do this to girls. Well, they shouldn't do it to girls. They did do it to us, but they shouldn't. You would be a little bit more like, why would you drop your daughter off with some random man, right? But dropping your son off with some random man was an okay thing, and nobody even thought twice about it. So for Justin Bieber's mom to drop him off with Diddy, was kind of part of this mindset right here. It's just a portion of like maybe I would think millennials would know about this, because it went on for a little while. But I would say like the tail end of Gen X, yeah, like this was normal to us. Like, oh, big bro, it was just, you wouldn't think twice about it, like child, anything going on. But in a Van Nuys courtroom 2 weeks ago, a big brother, a noted UCLA psychology professor, pleaded no contest to similar charges. Well, what they're doing is doing compatibility tests. Like, you're compatible with this child, like you would if you went on Tinder, right? And these men have some additional problems, so it's interesting. But the layout is like you are asking for it. Just generally, we're gonna try to hook you guys up together, and don't see them as a kid, okay? See them as your peer, which is very bad because it's still a child, right? And they didn't really see that you could ever, harm a kid here, but apparently, there was some cases we're seeing that they did go into court. And a third big brother faces a preliminary hearing this week on allegations that he had sexual contact with his teenage charge. The molesters had taken advantage of an organization devoted to helping boys from broken homes by matching them with adult males who volunteer there to serve as role models. Well, in their mind, big brothers can be especially attractive to potential molesters because it encourages volunteers to develop close, private relationships with boys. Okay, so why are you doing that? I'm just like, across the county, at least 22 big bros were convicted of sex crimes from 1982 to 87. And those are only the ones that the kids are able to say, oh, this happened, versus the story that they laid out where it sounds frightening and something probably did happen, but they didn't say they did. They think it's success, but it's actually frightening. The grooming and some other stuff there. Okay. And the I love you. Okay, so then records kept by big bros at Greater LA show that since 1982, at least 5 of its volunteers have been convicted. That's it, 5. A 6th case is pending. So it's like nonstop, right? It just keeps happening, right? It keeps happening. It's like, why does it keep happening? You have to sit with this story. That's why it's going to take a long time. Because even as I'm going through it, like, we can answer, like, the problems of these men. But you're like, it's like every other one that came in there, right? So then it's like, in interviews last week, Big Brother's officials conceded that child molesters occasionally infiltrate their ranks. Now, it is no surprise to them, given the nature of the program. The entire idea around it is a flop. Like, Who's gonna want to do? I mean, there's things to that, man. I just. They say the organization goes to extraordinary lengths to screen out molesters. How you do that? You can't do that. I mean, you can't do it by the way that they were talking about. Yeah, more rigorous requirements, including fingerprinting. What does fingerprinting do? Like, that doesn't tell you that somebody did that. Like, they're trying to say, oh, they must have already, they have to already be convicted. So if they were convicted, we could figure out through the fingerprints. I have no idea, but the fingerprints would have nothing to do with it. Their sexual preference wouldn't have anything to do with it. Like, it wouldn't tell you. So, I don't know. Highly personal interviews. What were they asking? Insurance companies that cover big bros, however, are demanding further precautions. They want psychological testing of potential big brothers. But didn't they say in the year prior that they do 3 psychological tests or something? But these psychological tests are not going to touch on it because at this time frame here, they did not consider agency to be a thing. That was a thing. Their definitions of these abuses were not on point either. Grooming is not being, the word grooming doesn't even come up in here, right? You don't see it at all, right? In the 86. I love bringing these stories up because they're so, like, dumb, right? Mostly with the one where the whole school got raped by everybody and they were just like, oh, people need to spend time with Jesus and have dinner together. That's why this is happening. So this is 1986. It's horrifying. But this is the Christian public. So this is the Christian. So it's a little painful. And then they made us all dumb, right? Because they didn't educate us further, you know, as kids at this time period. It's just really bad. And I was getting calls from allegedly the Golden State Killer. Some things up in here, like we should be fine with some adult man, heavy breathing, and saying he went through our house and crap, and then he ends up murdering people. But I shouldn't be worried about that. Nobody should report that to the cops, even though my parents were law enforcement. Does it make sense? Yeah, but that's what happened in 1986, you guys, in the 85-86 portion. They're stupid as hell. That's just the truth of it. It's not that the perpetrator is so sophisticated and smart. It's that they know the public is dumb as shit. And they're being dumb as shit too. I mean, their conduct here is dumb as shit. The perpetrator, they're just like, I'm in the open. I'm just going to be close to your sons. We're just going to do whatever. You just let me hang out with them. But there's nothing really sophisticated about that. It's that if you see, the public is stupid as hell. So reverse it. It's like dumb people are going to look at the average stupid guy as being smart compared to them, I guess. But I wouldn't call these guys sophisticated on any level. Everyone here, I mean, you're sitting there watching some guy going, I'm going to buy your son like a shitload of gifts. And he's going to write love letters to me, but don't flinch at that, okay? And I don't see him as a kid. Don't flinch at that, because that's the thing right there. It's like in your face type of thing, but nobody is educated on grooming, upaging boys, upaging any kid, but that was a version of upaging. He's like, I see him as my adult peer. No, we were not your adult peers. So that happened to me, you know what I mean, with these adults. So I was like, we're not adult peers. We're still kids. Everyone here is extremely concerned about child abuse. If they were, they wouldn't abuse their own kids, but that's not in the story, really. You know, we're going to act like it's somebody else, right? Somebody else. Big Brothers nationwide this year. Okay, they placed more than 60,000 Big Brothers nationwide. Wow, it's scary. Oh, yeah, man. These are big numbers. So even though molestation by Big Brothers is infrequent, it was enough for the organization to form a task force on child sexual abuse last February. Sexual molestation was not a concern when Big Brothers of America formed in 1903, and it should have been. But if you guys follow the AOC that we followed for the history, as you see, they were raping everybody, and raping a kid was totally fine. So why would they care? Okay. And when a Cincinnati businessman took a fatherless boy under his wing, so this is I think this is the Jewish business guy, and like the story, the way it's written, it sounds inspiring, right? But we don't really know what the hell happened here. But he took this fatherless boy under his wing and encouraged his friends to do the same. And it may have been out of a good place that they did this, but then he encouraged everybody to do this, right? So in 1955, Walt Disney helped found Big Brothers of Greater LA, and it just took off into this scary ass place, like all the Christians. And if you guys didn't know that, next to Disney, they had this crazy ass place where all these crazy lunatic Christians would go and do their speaking across the street. I think it was called Melodyland. Something weird. There was a thing called Melodyland, and all these people would gather. And there was a lot of child predators here, and I was still in my teens when I was in the area and dealing with the predator pastors. So, and then I was talking about how I worked at a place across the street from Disney, and the guy was like, I gotta go there every day, and there were some questionable things with that dude. And then they didn't want me to work there again. Yeah, it was really weird. The aim wasn't to provide parental substitute. See? They're not looking to replace like a father, right? They're not trying to do like a father figure, but rather a special friend. You're asking for a boyfriend. Like the setup is like a boyfriend in whom the boy could confide, a male figure for the boy to emulate. Why can't he emulate his mom? There's nothing wrong with that. The relationship would bolster the youth's self-image and confidence to be a jackass at school and pick on girls, I guess. I don't know. But this is their reasoning. It's just like, but some big brothers took advantage of the relationship. No one really knows when it started. Well, we can't say for certain on the initial story. The initial story could be a legit, I really wanted to help this family out. It could be something else, and we don't know about that. That's horrifying if that did happen like that. But I was trying to go, okay, so the next step was when they turned it into a network, that's where this goes wrong. At least for sure, because that's not how he found the kid, right? He didn't go through a service and be matched up. He found a family that he felt bad for, and he wanted to help them out. That story runs across that one Into the Night crap shit. The story that I did is talking about the song where he was claiming that he was helping the family, but then he turned all the kids into like, child labor. And then he fell in love with the little girl. It was disgusting. Okay, so it starts going into that thing, right? So I don't know. I don't know what happened. Okay, I just don't like any of it. The whole thing about it. But it said, public awareness of sexual abuse peaked during the early 1980s. Did you guys hear that? Just read it. Public awareness of sexual abuse peaked during the early 1980s, about the time the McMartin preschool child abuse case surfaced. Today, Big Brothers is operating with screening methods its officials believe may be so tight that the suitable men are discouraged from applying. This doesn't make any sense. It's not easy to become a big bro. Nancy, the director of public relations for Big Bro Greater LA, which has 420 big bros and another 300 boys on a waiting list. Big Bros is doing as much as anyone can to keep out child molesters. Yeah, but when they talk about this again, they don't think of the child molester as their own son or daughter. It's somebody else, right? It's somebody else's kid, but not yours, right? Okay, according to George, a LA Police Department detective in Van Nuys, who, So this is right before I got raped to hell up in here. Just this is going to drive me nuts. Who investigates child abuse cases. He praised the group for dropping volunteers at the first sign of improper contact. Right. He's also probably the first one that would do it. A child molester is a very sophisticated. They're not really that sophisticated. How are they sophisticated? Because we just did the case on the Oscar thing, and it's like all the guy did was like, hey kid, I teach coaching, come to my house overnight. Like, do you think he's sophisticated? All he's looking for is some naive, uneducated person and to just fall for his bullshit. I mean, that's just really it. It isn't like he's like some genius. Like, I mean, obviously he's calculating things, but that doesn't mean you have to be a genius to be a calculator, right? um, Being calculated. He's just looking for opportunities, an opportunistic person. So who's going to allow their kids to be with me alone? Let's see. Will you leave your kids with me alone? Okay, no, let me find somebody else. You want to leave your kids with me alone? Okay, we're going to find somebody else. It isn't, I don't know. I have a problem with trying to like smarten up dumb people. Yeah. Okay, so it's so difficult to interview someone and figure out if that person is a child molester. A full investigation is too costly. Talking to neighbors, all the kids on his baseball team, and then maybe he didn't do anything to the kid this season. Okay. For me, we can pick them out. There's a couple types. And I've talked about the child kid one. Oh, goodness. Those ones are so obvious it's not even funny. And literally no one even picks it out. And I'm like, that one's an obvious one. It might be with those ones, besides being a sociopath, that they have major, severe mental illnesses that, just some additions in those ones. We've been looking at it. They exist, but it doesn't fit the criteria of every single one. So I'm trying to figure out, like, why are these kid-like ones right here? They are scary as hell, and they're pretty obvious. And then you have these other ones, and yeah, like someone that would go rape and murder a kid and jump them off on the side of the freeway. And so those are actually two very different perpetrators. Actually, they actually don't pray the same. I don't know. I don't think typically you would have the baby face dude doing homicide, though maybe they would do homicide if in fact they would be afraid of getting busted. But typically I don't see those ones too much do that. But maybe they do. So let's, they need more research on these different types. But yeah, they do have to deal with them though, because after they get convicted, I guess they go through a thing. So yeah, they're dealing with different ones. So they'll probably tell you a million different things that they have, the problems with them. Okay, since 1982, shouldn't the public be totally interested in like what the problems are? Because like, it's someone's kid. It's your kids. It's your kids doing it. It's your kids doing it. Don't you want to stop your kids from being child molesters? They're so concerned about being molested, as we should too, but not that your kid's turning into a molestor. Why are your kids turning into molestors, right? Big Brother's applications have been fingerprinted at their own expense to disclose any criminal record or motor vehicle violations. Why? I don't know. The card thing's funny as hell to me. Okay, references include the applicant's employer or check. The most critical phase is application 3-hour interviews with a staff social worker. Oh my God. Like, what? The man must disclose his complete sexual history. What? What? Oh my God, you guys. This is not going to tell you anything if a person is a sociopath. Unless if they started writing down like I hire sex workers all the time and then they go missing. I don't know. Oh, okay, wait. The man must disclose his complete sexual history, okay? Which they said they get 20-year-olds up in here too. His first sexual experience. They have to tell these people his first sexual experience. Is this not the most perverted thing ever? In a 3-hour interview, that's literally not going to lead you in onto much. Dating patterns, marital relationship, and any abuse as a child. Now, the abuse as a child can be a flag. So, but you're not going to get it just from like, oh, I was abused as a child. And my parents beat the shit out of me and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, all this. Well, I would be concerned about this person, but not necessarily. It depends. But you would have to be either like us over here, keep going all through all this stuff. No, like with a professional to sit down with that, because that can lead into their disorders, some things with that. But the sexual experience, my dad first touched me when I was 5. You know what I mean? Like, what? Oh. And dating patterns. What does this have to do with this? The guy probably came up and he's like, I love Jesus. I haven't had sex yet. And when I haven't dated a girl yet. And we're not married yet, but I'm looking for a commitment with somebody for, you know, my lifelong, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And my parents loved me. We had a wholesome family. And then that's the guy that's going to do it. That's the guy that's totally going to do it. I was like, a screening committee that included a mental health expert. Oh, God. In the OC, a mental health expert. Okay. And a member of the LA Police Department. Oh, God. No. Okay, so LAPD was the one that was like, women are liars. They lie 24/7. They make up that kids get touched. Okay, but we touch everybody. But anyway, even we do cavity searches. We do all kinds of sexual exploitation. We call women, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. We human traffic. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're going to ask them in 1986. Okay. And then they were also raping children on the street that were being human trafficked. So I just want to put that out there. So we're going to ask them. Okay, we're going to ask them. They review questionable or unacceptable applicants and another 10% of applicants as quality control measure. Okay, for no good reason. Just you guys need to go. Okay. Social workers are trained to look for red flags, aspects of a man's personality that suggest a child molester. Okay, well, what are these traits? If he is single, does he date women? Oh my God, it's so terrible, you guys. Is he shy? Is he withdrawn? That shy guy is a child molester. That is not. There's a lot of very outgoing narcissist men that, oh wow, because they get you to like them a lot. Oh, he's a nice guy. Yeah. Okay, so does he have friends? Or is he a loner? The loner ones are creepy, you guys. No, that isn't the case. Is he interested in sports? What the hell is that? Sports means that you're a man, okay? This came up in the Akrumby and Fitch story. So the sports thing, like my dad wanted me to go do football. He wants me to be a real man and do football. Here it is. They actually asked him if he's interested in sports. So if you're not, it means you're gay. It means that you're going to go after some kids. Isn't this stupid? The mentality? Yes. Does he have an inordinate interest in children? Okay. I question everybody up in here, okay? That's even coming up to try to even do this job. Does he hang out at Disneyland? I love this. Okay. Actually, yeah. That one, I definitely would say, not, that's not like a necessarily that is what that means, but I would question the man that wants to hang out at Disneyland all day long by himself every day for freaking lunch. Okay, so yeah, I had to deal with this dude. So I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you. And but doesn't necessarily mean that he touched any kids. He might have wanted you. Um, I would say that would be a quality control one. Like you can't prove it, but I probably wouldn't mess with that one. I'm just saying this me personally because I had experienced this weird thing. And other places designed for children. Does he have a strong interest in cameras and video equipment? Possibly for porno reasons. Oh my god, what the hell? Just because somebody. You know what's so weird? Not a lot of people had a lot of video stuff in 1986. So, cameras, yes. Does he have any video equipment? Who had video equipment in 86? I think a lot of people had a strong interest in cameras. That means you're gonna touch some kids. I don't know. This is their process, and this is why this video took forever, and it's gonna still be forever on this new one because it's crazy. We asked them to name 5 good things about themselves. The true child molester can't do it. What? Because of extremely low self-esteem. Are you crazy? They have it so wrong. They have it so wrong. The child molester could sit there and just make up all kinds of crap, and they are a lot of them are pathological liars. So they have a higher sense of self half the time. Even if they technically underneath it all have low self-esteem, they like to see themselves as great humans. And they'll say anything and everything that you want to hear. And they know that what you want to hear. I would not call that being sophisticated. I'm just calling that being smart in any interview. Because if I go into an interview, do I want to make myself sound bad? No. So, we were asking them to name 5 good things about themselves. That's messed up because a lot of us that are healthy minded can't really, like, some people are not so full of themselves that they can name 5 things that they think are really positive about themselves. If they have low self-esteem, it doesn't equate to that they're a child molester. Let's just put it that way. Records don't show the number of possible child molesters who have been turned away because applicants are rejected for many reasons and separate figures are not kept. Yeah, they're getting rejected for reasons that make no goddamn sense. The records do show that only 10% of applicants are accepted. Wow, that's how many child molesters are out here. You got 90%. That might be true, though. It's almost like they knew the truth. Doesn't it seem like that? 90% of the public is a rapist. And I would definitely stand with that type of number. So, you're saying only 10% pass through it. So, it's almost like, oh, we know that the rest of the public is a bunch of rapists, so we don't want them around kids. But this 10% right here, and even a few have gotten through this thing, basically 5% of the population is, they're not going to go, touch some kids. These are usually single men in their late 20s or early 30s, partly because older men with children do not have the time to spend with the boy. They usually don't even spend time with their own son, but anyway. Big Brothers of LA won't match homosexuals or bisexual men with boys. So the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California sued the agency on behalf of LA car salesmen bisexual who applied unsuccessfully to become a Big Brother. The case is pending. Wild said that since screening procedures have been tightened in the last 4 years, Big Bros have accepted no candidates who was later arrested for molestation. All Big Brothers who have been charged or convicted were accepted before the improved screening. Okay, so if you read the story prior, they were totally adamant that they do great screening, right? Now it's like, oh, we have a new and improved system, you guys, and it's really not, and we're a bunch of idiots still, and kids are still going to get touched, okay? As a preventative measure, the organization offered a program about molestation to the boys and their mothers. After a match is made, staff social workers watch for warning signals during frequent talks with Big Brothers, the boy and his mother. Are they spending too much time together? Are they only going to the man's home rather than public places? Is the boy moody? Oh my God. Oh my God. Now, we just read a thing where the guy gave the kid like about 35 Garfields or something. Another chip bump is Big Brother who showers the boy with gifts or frequent trips to Disneyland. Okay, this portion is sketchy because some people, like, I could give a lot of examples. There's a lot of people that really want to help kids, and mostly if they come from like poor homes and things like that. Just because they give them items doesn't mean they're going to try to molest the kid. Okay, that's just one portion. Can it be a flag? Yeah, I mean, I would say giving a kid 35 damn Garfields is overkill and weird, and it has nothing to do with like the kid is in poverty and he's trying to go for a goal, and the parents are such piles of shit that I could literally go on this thing about this other family. And I'm kind of annoyed by this association because even during Christmas time, there was families that were asking for items for their kids. So I like kind of spoiled them and bought them all the items that they wanted to get their kids for Christmas. So I paid for it. And so I'm kind of like a secret random woman over here that's just buying shit for other people's kids. Yeah, so I was doing that before people threw me in a street. But yeah, so we do stuff like that. It's not because we want to get near anybody's kids or anything like that. We want to see kids, like, from my perspective. Let me talk about my perspective of these situations. So to take this into account when you're trying to decipher what's going on here, I don't want to see a kid suffer or live growing up with something less than I had. And I think I had a pretty decent childhood with more than enough stuff. Some of the other kids I grew up with didn't maybe not have as much, but they certainly were not suffering in the way that I've seen some kids out here. So for me, I feel that it's my place. Like, if somebody doesn't want to take care of their kids, they don't care as much for their kids, that the kids should be able to experience life as joyfully as possible. And those things helped me get through as a child, just having basic necessities and, things that made me happy, right? Just things like that. It has nothing to do with trying to groom a child and trying to touch them, okay? It's just that their parents are piles of shit and they want to spend all their money on video games and other shit and blow it on other things and not their own kids. So for me, those things are motivations to do things like that. Again, it's not anything like that. I would not say I showered any kid with the tank of gifts. I would say that there were situations where, such as, let me give you an example. If your kid has a birthday, don't you think you should do something for it? For them? They didn't. And I'm sitting there watching this kid, and I'm like, you know how effed up this is? I used to have big birthday parties. Like, my parents would take me to the park, and it's not like they cost like a tank of money. Is that they invited a bunch of kids to come and hang out. We had like soda, cake, and we opened up gifts, and we all had fun at the park. Like, that's doing something, right? They secluded this one kid so much, and I'm just like, I'm gonna take you guys to Universal. That's where it came from. It's not trying to get, this thing. They were trying to dump their kid on me, which was also ultra crazy. I'm like, thank God we're not these people here. But it's crazy to me, some of the actions of parents. And yeah, that was the one. So yeah, I can go on a whole thing about that. I was like, and I could never be, I couldn't lie to the kid. Like, the kid has problems with the parents, so it's like their parents are problematic. If you're going through if a kid is going through depression, you don't tell them, oh, you're not really feeling that. Your parents are totally fine. It's just you. That's actually not the truth. The truth is that their parents are not connecting to their kids, and they are trying to seek love and attention, but the parents don't want to give it to them. And then situations like that, if somebody like this comes in, yeah, then they would totally take advantage of it. But it doesn't mean everybody's going to take advantage of the kid in that situation. I'm just trying to lay it out. Like, they can be flags, but not necessarily. It depends. It depends. It depends. But the story that we read prior, yeah, I would probably say that. Because now they're all, I love you. That kid wasn't saying kids were not saying I love me and shit. That's like, I don't know. I don't know. I'd be probably a little weird by that. It's like a courting situation. Okay, yeah, frequent trips to Disneyland. Okay, well, that family actually did do that. Actually, the trips, I would not go to Disneyland. I was like, yeah, not my thing here. Hold on. It's kind of funny because the last time I went to Disneyland, or at least, my thing with Disneyland is I sang at Disneyland for the public. And it's not like I had a bad experience or anything. It's just not for me, you guys. I don't know. It's just not for me. But I would say one of the bigger flags is the thing about cutting contact with other kids. That is crazy. I was trying to sit there and go, oh, they need to put this kid in programs, you know, for them being around other kids. Like, they should be hanging out with other kids. They shouldn't be hanging out with me. They shouldn't be hanging out with their parents all the time. They need to be with other children. So the reversal would definitely be the flag where even the parent, now what it's showing here is the parents are being abusive. That's number one. But if an outsider comes in and they start wanting to limit the kid from being around other kids or anything like that, that is definitely a flag. That one there. Insurance companies look to cut losses from possible lawsuits, want more than intuitive social workers trained to keep an eye out for child molesters. They want psychological testing of potential big brothers. But your psychological testing is ridiculous, so you don't even know what to look for. Like, how do you have a psychological test if you don't even know what to look for? You're going to be asking things that are not relevant to the actual traits of these guys, and it's pretty much everyone out here, almost. It is. If I were to get raped by dozens of men, as I did when I was a kid, and the general population was touching everybody and everything else like that, then, yeah, you're talking about the general population. So what are you going on here? And not the general population, just because they're into kids doesn't mean they want to go hang out at Disneyland either. While that could be a sign, I would say that a lot of these guys that did stuff to me, they weren't hanging out at Disneyland. So it depends who you're dealing with. Again, each perpetrator is an individual. Each perpetrator is an individual. They're not all soccer coaches. They're not all into, you know, Mickey Mouse over here. Big Brother and Sister of Orange County already gives applicants 3 personality tests that later interpreted, by a psychologist looking for positive qualities as well as disturbing traits. Okay. What is positive qualities? Do you love Jesus? If you're not into Jesus, we don't want you around the children, okay? Do you have a different religion than Jesus? If you have a different religion than Jesus, then you can't be around kids. Okay, so you already know where that went, right? And then the disturbing traits. What's disturbing traits? One in the Minnesota inventory standard personality test. Okay, I don't know. Another calls for the applicant to draw a person, house, and a tree similar to a test. The third is a sentence completion test. Oh no, what the hell? Minnesota multifaceted inventory. I gotta pull those up. What the hell? Draw a person, house, and a tree. I'm scared. What happens if I do this? I don't know. What's it gonna say about me? Bizarre. This is the most hokey pokey ridiculousness. But most Big Brother officials are skeptical of such tests. Thank you, because they say there's no test that accurately predicts whether a man will molest a boy. Child molesters fit no rigid profile. Yes and no. Like, I'm saying, like, they're individuals, but yeah, I mean, they definitely fit into criteria when their personality, yes. And they reject the polygraph test as unreliable. Yeah, well, that's just generally. Like, murderers get away with the polygraph test. So, we could screen and never end up matching anyone. Yeah, so maybe you shouldn't be doing it at all, right? He said budget constraints prevent hiring detectives to do further checking. Where do you draw the line? How many girlfriends do you talk to? Are we going to have everyone tested for AIDS? Oh, yeah, the Christians will do it, as they had me tested for TB. Okay, so this is absolutely ridiculous. Why can't somebody with AIDS be a big brother to some? With that, I don't want anybody being big brothers and sisters, but why couldn't somebody with AIDS be a big brother? I mean, they could learn something from that situation. It'd be depressing. You know what? When I was a kid, I just want to tell you guys this one. So when I was in the Brownies, we had to adopt older people. So we did a reversal. We had to adopt some terminally ill grandmothers. And this, I have trauma a little bit from this, but we had to go spend time with them so they weren't alone in these homes and having all these surgeries. And it was horrifying to me because I'm not capable of dealing with that much traumatic illness. Okay. So as a kid, nobody's there to help me through that and take that in properly, because it's like one day I'm really close with this lady, right? we're talking, and then I come back like a week later or something, and she had major surgery and they cut off one of her legs. And I'm like, what the hell? So it was a little dramatic for me. It was a little too much. And then I came back again and they cut off her other leg. And so I don't really understand what's happening. And this woman's losing parts of her body on me. And then the next thing that you know, they tell me, oh, she died. And it's like, what the hell? I just got into a relationship with this woman, talking with her, spending time with her, like, this thing. And then she's dead. And so I have grief, right? So they don't care about my grief. And they're just like, anyways, so your next grandma over here that you're spending time with, she's fine. So go hang out with her more. So I would, and she would do these fun things and bring masks. I don't know, it was all strange. But yeah, it was something else. So it was a reversal, as me taking care of the old ladies, basically, from the Brownies. Strange, right? We're really young here. And they put me through that. And I'm still weirded out by it. I'm still traumatized by it. Because we had grief and we didn't get to go through that. Like, they didn't have anybody with us to help us through that. And I don't know what I experienced. Like, I don't understand why this woman's having parts of her body cut off and then she died. I still don't. It's horrifying. And she was so sweet. It was just like, how are you supposed to take that as a kid, right? This is what they did around these years. It was actually around 84. So it would be, yeah, it was around 84, actually. In one 1984 case, Wild said that even after the cases arrived, Wild said that even after cases arise and the big brothers have been identified as child molesters, he has gone back over the men's records and found nothing would have tipped off the organization. Just your organization itself. In one of the 84 cases, the big brother was a former Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Airport Authority executive. Another case that year involved a former Bible class instructor from Burbank. In that case, as well as others, it was Big Brother's personnel who alerted police to a possible molestation. Craig, who in August pled guilty in San Fernando to 5 counts of lewd conduct, as certified public accountant who served as Boy Scout leader besides being a big brother. 4 of his victims were scouts, illustrating that the problem of molestation affects all youth organizations. So Ed Kern, LA spokesman for Boy Scouts of America, acknowledged it is a concern. Now, I don't know if we've had this problem in the Brownies. Like, I don't recall any situation, I mean, at least with myself, that it would have led to anything like that. The way the Brownies were ran was a little different than the Boy Scouts, but The Girl Scouts, though, on the other hand, they did some different things. I know I had started out into the Girl Scouts, and then for some reason my parents quit, maybe because of divorce or something weird like that. But I completely went through my brownies thing. The organization now requires 2 adults to be present on overnight trips, partly as a precaution against molestation. However, they said the Boy Scouts have less of a problem because activities usually are in group settings and Scout leaders are solicited from within the group sponsoring the troop. It is more localized rather than a broad-based recruiting campaign that considers anyone who walks in as a potential volunteer. The other groups that need to be watching out is the Red Cross. What the hell was that crap? Despite the care Big Brothers takes to protect its boys from molestation, some say the screening and monitoring are not sufficient. The whole program shouldn't even be a thing. The mother of a 14-year-old boy filed a $15 million lawsuit in Van Nuys. This is an 87, you guys. And her son's big brother. Okay. She claims in her lawsuit that Yerk was improperly screened and negligently monitored during the 20-month relationship. Yerkes, a professional stuntman from Granada Hills, was sentenced by a San Fernando judge to 18 years in prison last year after a jury found him guilty of 3 counts of each of sodomy, oral copulation, lewd conduct with a child. Yerkes contends that the troubled boy fabricated the molestation, and Yerkes has filed an appeal. During the trial, the boy testified that Yerkes would show him pornography in the magazines, molesting him during the weekend outings. Police found pornography magazines at his home after his arrest in '83. Until a few weeks ago, the boy lived in a psychiatric hospital because of emotional problems caused by the molestation. Another mother said a lawsuit will not repair the emotional damage of her 10-year-old boy suffered because of his relationship with Daryl Dean Richards, an assistant professor of psychology at UCLA. He pled no contest and stemming from his contact with 2 boys and one whom he met through Big Brothers. Okay. The professor, who teaches adolescent psychology, contends that he did nothing wrong and was merely teaching boys about sexuality and hygiene during showers together and on overnight stays. The schools were making us take showers together. This is the other weird thing about it. It's like this weird normalization of this crap. And I don't, there's a lot to say about it. But yeah, in the junior high portion, they're like, you have to do this in front of everybody. And then the teachers are there to watch. And it's like, nobody's gonna do that, man. Nobody. But apparently they did. And then as they were talking about it, people were saying that these things didn't happen online. And then they were like making up like kids went swimming and naked together. There was a whole thing one night. And I was like, oh my God. But no, in our junior high, they made all the kids shower naked in this thing, and the teachers had a window view of all the kids. Like, what the hell? So, yeah, that did happen. The organization is necessary for boys living in a home where there's no males. No. Why is it? It's not necessary. But it's hard when you feel like you're putting your son out there to be hurt. Okay, yeah, but it's not unnecessary, no. Her boy was later assigned to a big brother to only see the man also drop from the program because of allegations that he molested another boy. Police are investigating that case. The mother has learned a lot, she said, about child molesters. They come on so nice. They are pros, making the mother feel comfortable, but the love they put out is to sucker kids in. Once you consider that love bombing, which is a narcissist trait, right? Or they put out a lot of love, right? We don't trust these lovey-dovey people because they fit traits that actually are signs that somebody has a PD. We're not saying be evil, mean people all the time, but these over the top, like, we love you, this thing, that thing, is actually kind of a sign of a narcissist personality disorder thing. Yeah, love bombing. It's just something they do. It's to get you all suckered in and then they harm you, right? Sophisticated is part of a mental health issue, and it's called manipulation, right? So they manipulate. It's like a child, right? You're dealing with like a person that is not developed past, well, we always do the generic age 5, like they haven't developed past this childhood area. And so when a kid's trying to manipulate to get something, right, let's just say they want ice cream, they start manipulating the parent, right? Like, I did everything good. What do you want me to do? I'm going to do everything and everything. Can I get ice cream now? Can I get ice cream now? And start doing things to be like, I did all these wonderful things. I did this thing for you, Mom. I did, it's kind of this like little game. And so it's, I believe it's derived from that little thing right there. And when we were kids, like, everybody did this. So you should be able to kind of comprehend it a little bit. It's just that when we grew up, we stopped doing that shit because it didn't work after a while. They're like, I don't care how much you beg, you're not getting it. It's like, okay, well, yeah. Wait till you go to bed. Like, wait till you go to bed. We're gonna get it no matter what. Okay, so no, but I think every kid went through that phase, just like, let's see what this works. Does it work? Are we getting it? So then if we get enabled with it all the time, then aren't we going to keep doing that as a means to an end? Right? Because it works, right? So we do that. It started working. We start manipulating the manipulation. That's what a kid would do, So those traits are childhood stuff. Okay, so now we're done with that. It was long, right? And this was only 2 stories. I had gone through this huge thing on this. And I was like, yeah, that basically tells us they all got molested. I mean, basically, when you go through the story and you sit with it and you see all the things that they're like, wow, we did all this testing. And then, like, the whole setup itself shouldn't even be happening, right? We need to give children to random strange adult men. For what F reason? They're all predators, right? They keep doing it. We can't figure out why I'm like, I could tell you why. We could break it down. It's going to be a little bit far and away from this. It might coincide alongside with our abuses if they went through the history of the perpetrators. Do they go through a program like this? Were they molested by another adult man? Those are the things that we're looking at, because in some of these cases, it's where the fathers were actually sexually abusing their own sons. There's a lot of different dynamics. So as you figure out all the dynamics, but even questioning them about those dynamics that wouldn't not necessarily mean they would do that, such as in the Spacey brother thing. I don't know about the other brother, but I don't think he did that to other kids. But yeah, but then 2 dynamics kind of came out of it, right? So it's based more on one's more charismatic, right? The charismatic trait is the one that would be more than likely to do that, right? Because that's the one that comes into the family and they got everybody to like him. And then they do those things. He's a manipulator, so that's just part of his traits. But it's weird because in real life, when they're talking about hanging out with them, a lot of the people didn't want to hang out with them. It's strange because the general population that doesn't know him, he shift shapes, like he morphs his personality so everybody likes him. But in real life, when he's hanging out with people, at a point they're like, we want to get rid of him. It's interesting because he's too much, and they're like, oh, dude, we need to get this dude out of here. It's really weird to read. Like, he's that bizarre. So it's not exactly panning off well in real life, in private, with other individuals. They're like, whoa, get this dude out of here. Versus, we see nothing, we know nothing, and da 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 da. You know? Even though the friends keep talking about him like that. But the friends are totally fine with that conduct. That's a different thing. They're totally fine with that conduct. And technically, in most of these cases, they have done that conduct to other people. So therefore, his conduct is not a big deal.